The sound was faint at first, steady, beeping in the distance, ticking in the silent room. Then came the light, harsh, white, too bright. It pierced through his eyelids and dragged him towards consciousness. His eyes fluttered open. The ceiling was unfamiliar. So were the walls. So was the strange chemical smell in the air. A face hovered above him. A woman, brown-skinned, full lips, wide eyes, red from crying. Her hands trembled as they clutched his. "Tony," she whispered, "can you hear me?" He stared at her. His head pounded. He tried to speak, but his throat felt like sandpaper. "Water," he rasped. She poured from a jug beside the bed and held the cup to his lips. Her hands didn't stop shaking. "Tony, it's me, Tina." He blinked. The name meant nothing. Her face, nothing. The trembling hand that stroked his, nothing. "I'm your wife," she added softly. He didn't respond. He couldn't. His mind was a locked room, and every door he tried to open led to darkness. The doctor said it was a miracle he was even alive. A major accident, head trauma, memory loss. Temporary, they said, could last weeks, months, or never return at all. Tina stayed by his side day and night, speaking to him gently, feeding him, adjusting his pillows, playing voice notes she claimed were from their moment, but it all felt foreign, like watching someone else's life on the screen. When he was discharged, the drive home was quiet. Tina held the steering wheel with both hands, sneaking glances at him every few seconds, like she was afraid he would vanish again. Tony sat beside her, staring out the window. The streets looked familiar, but distant, like deja vu from a dream he couldn't piece together. When they pulled into the compound, he hesitated before stepping out. The house was beautiful, clean, secure, the kind of home a man should remember. But as he walked through the front door, nothing clicked. "This is the living room," Tina said gently. "You love watching movies on that couch. You always say it gives you the best sleep." Tony nodded slowly, his eyes scanning the room. Family portraits lined the walls, wedding photos, birthday snapshots, a few vacation shots at the beach. All of them showed him and Trina smiling, holding hands, looking in love. He moved to the shelf, picked up a frame on their dining table with a cake that read, "Happy 15th anniversary." 15 years, he muttered under his breath. "Yes," Tina replied, standing close. "We've been through a lot." We prayed, cried, hoped, especially for a child, but we've stayed strong. You never gave up on me." He glanced at her. There was a warmth in her eyes and pain. He wished he could remember. Later that night, he sat in their bedroom, flipping through photo albums while Tina cooked dinner. The images told a story he didn't feel a part of. Their wedding, a trip to Ghana, a birthday surprise at a rooftop restaurant, his handwriting in the birthday card, "Forever isn't long enough with you, see." He closed the album. He opened the wardrobe. Business suits, cologne, a wristwatch, engraved with "To my king, see." It was like walking through someone else's memory. And the worst part, there was nothing to contradict any of it. No gut feeling telling him it was fake. No ghost from the past whispering otherwise. Just silence. That night, as they ate in silence, Tina looked up and said, "We don't have to force it. I know it's hard, but your heart, it will remember me. I believe that." Tony looked at her. He wanted to believe it too. But deep inside, he felt like he was still missing something. Something important. The sun was soft that afternoon. Tony took his usual walk around the neighborhood, hoping the fresh air would clear his head. The security guard had called him Mr. Tony with a warm smile. A woman watering her flower waved, calling out, "Good to see you again, sir." They all seemed to know him, and he responded politely, even though he felt like a stranger in his own life. Halfway through his stroll, just by the corner of a quiet street, he heard footsteps, fast and urgent. Tony, a woman cried out. He turned. A woman with a little boy were running towards him. Before he could react, the boy launched into his arms with a cheerful scream of, "Daddy!" Tony froze. The child's small arms wrapped tightly around his neck. The woman, tall, fair-skinned with braided hair and tear-stained cheeks, was right behind him, breathless. "Baby, oh my God, where have you been?" she gasped. Tony gently pulled the boy off him. "I'm sorry. Do I know you?" The woman blinked. A smile faltered. "What do you mean, Tony? It is me, Trisha, your wife." His heart skipped. "My what?" "This is your son, David," she said, gesturing to the bowl. "He has been crying every night for you. You've been looking everywhere. You didn't even say a word before disappearing." Tony took a step back. "I don't understand. I'm married. My wife's name is Tina." Trisha smiled, faded into confusion, then pain. "What are you saying?" Tony stopped playing. You've been with us. Look at David. Don't you recognize him?" The boy stared up at him, wide-eyed confusion. "Daddy, don't you remember me?" Tony's chest tightened. The boy looked a little like him, just a little, enough to plant doubt. "I had an accident," he said slowly. "I don't remember much. I'm trying to recover." Trisha's eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope. "Oh my God, is that what this is? Memory loss? Baby, let's go home. I'll remind you of everything." He hesitated. Something inside of him said no, but he needed answers. He needed to be sure if she was lying. He would find out if she wasn't. "Okay," he said, "show me." Trisha smiled and took his hand. The boy clung to the other side. As they walked together, Tony felt the world shift beneath his feet. Was Tina his only wife? Or was there a secret life hiding in the shadow of his lost memory? Trisha's apartment was neat, modest, and strangely familiar. Pictures hung on the wall, photos of Tony and Trisha at the beach, eating at a restaurant, even one of them carrying little David on his shoulders. Frames lined the shelves. They all looked natural, candid, real. Tony stared in silence as Trisha set a photo album on the center table and opened it. "Look," she said softly, flipping through the pages. "Your birthday, our 3rd anniversary, when David turned 2. There he was again and again, smiling, laughing, holding Trisha close, and David was in every picture, like a permanent fixture, clinging to his tiny leg or curled up in his laps. He touched one photo. It didn't feel edited. The angles, the lighting, it all looked genuine. How did I not know about this?" He asked, more to himself. "I don't know what happened," Trisha said. "You just stopped coming home one day. No warning, no messages. I thought you were avoiding me, but now I see it wasn't your fault." Tony sat back on the couch, rolling his hand through his hair. He felt sick. Tina had showed him photo albums too, wedding pictures, memories, but none with a child. "I need time to think," he muttered. Trisha nodded slowly. "Take your time, baby. I understand. I just want our family back." That night, he sent a photo of Trisha and David to his closest work colleague, Fred, the only Fred he trusted before the accident. He typed, "Do you know this woman?" Fred responded after a while, "No, never seen her." "Your wife is Tina, right?" "Yes, but this woman says she's also my wife, and the boy says I'm his dad." Fred didn't answer for a minute. "You've always been a private guy, Tony. If you had a second family, you never told me. But I doubt it. This is strange." Tony sighed, leaned back in bed, his mind spinning. The next morning, he called his lawyer. "Mr. Adebayo," he said, "how many properties are in my name?" "6, sir." "Why? Do you know of any other wife aside Tina?" Adebayo paused. "None, sir. You and Mrs. Tina are the only ones I have ever interacted with regarding your estate." Tony thanked him and ended the call. Everything pointed to Tina legally, professionally, even financially. But the photos, the child, the emotions in David's eyes. He didn't want to hurt Tina, but he couldn't ignore what he felt. There was something about the way David hugged him. Natural, loving, easy. It reminded him of something he couldn't name. He turned off his phone. He needed space. He needed to remember or forget or something. And as he lay on the couch at Trina's place, staring at the ceiling, David curled up on his chest, calling him daddy once again. Tony whispered, "Who am I really?" Tina stood in the living room pacing. Her eyes darted to the wall clock. Every few minutes, it had been 3 days since Tony left the house, claiming he needed air. She called, she texted, no reply. She wasn't angry, she was terrified. Her husband, the man she has built 15 years with, was out there, memory shattered, emotions raw, vulnerable. When he finally picked her call, her breath caught. "Tony," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm okay," he said. "I just needed time. Everything is a mess." Tina closed her eyes, relief washing over her. "Did you have to disappear like that? I was so worried. I even contacted one of their sisters." "Why would you do that?" "Because I thought you might have gone to find them. They said they hadn't heard from you, so I kept calling, hoping you answer. I'm just glad you're okay." Tony didn't speak for a moment. Then, "I'll come home tomorrow. There's something I'll need to ask you." The next day he returned, he was quieter, slower in movement. He stared at her with eyes full of thought he hadn't yet voiced. "Tina," he said, pulling out his phone. "Do you know this woman?" He turned the screen to show a photo of Trisha and David. Tina's face went still, her eyes widening, not in shock but recognition. She sat down. "I know her," she said finally. "Her name is Trisha. That's her son David." Tony sat across from her watching. "She's your late best friend's wife," Tina continued. "His name was Jude. They got married just before he died. You were so close to him. You felt it was your responsibility to care for them after he passed. You paid David's school fees, covered Trisha's rent. You even took them out sometimes. She was like a sister-in-law to us." Tony's eyes narrowed. "So why is she calling me her husband?" Tina hesitated. "Trisha, she broke after Jude died. Something changed in her. She had a mental breakdown. Mild at first, then deeper. She started showing up at our house, uninvited, saying strange things, that she looked like Jude, that maybe Jude's spirit was living through you. I thought she'd get over it. She has pictures," Tony said. "A marriage certificate." Tina shook her head. "She's skilled with editing apps. If she didn't lose her way, she would have been a graphic designer. She photoshopped herself into your life and the child. Well, David never really knew his father. You were the closest kin to one." Tony stared into space. The weight of realization hit slowly. Then all at once, the emotions, the photos, the feelings, they were real, but not true. "She needs help," Tina added quietly. "And so do you, but not from her. From me. I'm still here, Tony. I never left." For the first time in days, Tony reached out and took her hand, and for a fleeting second, it felt familiar. Tony stood outside the gate to Trisha's apartment, his fist clenched at his sides. He wasn't angry. When Trisha opened the door and saw him, her face lit up instantly. "Baby, you came back." He stepped inside without speaking. David was watching cartoons on the couch, but when he saw Tony, he jumped up. "Daddy!" the little boy shouted, running to him. Tony bent down, hugging him one last time. "Hey, champ." David clung to him tightly, unaware of the storm swelling around them. "Can you give me and mommy a moment?" Tony asked gently. David nodded and went back to the couch. Trisha walked towards him slowly, smiling like everything was normal. "I knew you'd be back. I knew you'd remember us." "I didn't," Tony said firmly. "And we're not a family, Trisha. You're not my wife. David is not my son." Has now faltered. He continued, "I know the truth, man. You were married to my best friend. I took care of you and your son after he died because it was the right thing to do. But I never married you." Trisha's eyes simmered with unshed tears. "But we were happy when you stayed with us. It felt so right. Didn't you feel it?" Tony's voice softened but stayed steady. "I felt compassion. I felt confusion. But not love, not truth." Trisha's expression darkened. "You said all you wanted was a child. I can't give you that. David already calls you daddy. Tina can't. should never be able to. What are you holding on to? Tony took a step back. I'm holding on to what's real. My vows, my wife. The one who stayed when I had nothing. Trisha crossed her arms, bitterness in her voice. So what now? You leave us like we never mattered. No, Tony said. I'll continue to support David. Not for you, but for Jude. He was my brother in every way that counts. He reached into his pocket and handed her an envelope. This is money for the next few months. That's after this communication ends. No more visits, no more phone calls. You've crossed the line. Her lips trembled. What if I don't let go? Tony's eyes hardened. Then I'll make sure you're forced to, legally. He turned, headed for the door. Tony, she called out. He stopped but didn't turn around. I loved you. He didn't respond. He opened the door, stepped out into the sun and closed it behind him. Back home, Tina was waiting. She opened the door before he knocked, as if she had been standing there the whole time. Did you handle it? She asked. Tony nodded. I did. She stepped aside, letting him in. That night, for the first time since the accident, he didn't sleep on the couch. He lay beside his wife, staring at the ceiling, and finally it felt like home. It started with fatigue, then cravings, then nausea. At first, Tina brushed it off. Stress, maybe. Her body had been through so much. But when she missed her period, something inside her whispered a possibility she had long stopped entertaining. She bought a test, then 2, then 5. Positive. She stared at the result in disbelief. Tears spilled before she even knew she was crying. For 15 years, nothing. Doctors, prayers, fasting, waiting, and now, none of all times, this. When Tony walked into the kitchen later that day, she was sitting at the table holding a test in her hand. He paused, eyes narrowing. Tina. She looked up at him, unable to speak. She simply stretched out her hand, offering him the small stick. He took it, read it again. He looked at her, his expression unreadable. Then he fell to his knees and pulled her into his arms. They cried together, holding each other tightly. It felt like a new chapter, a fresh start. They never saw coming, but miracles are often followed by storms. A week later, strange things began to happen. Tina came home one afternoon to find the gate open ajar, like someone had walked in and left it that way. Once, she found a small shard of glass near the blender, even though she hadn't used it all day. Another time, she nearly drank from a bottle of juice that tasted bitter. Too bitter. Tony started watching closely. He installed cameras, he changed logs, but one afternoon, the footage showed something that made his blood run cold. Trisha, at the gate, peeking in, holding a scarf Tina had worn the day before. He wasted no time. A restraining order was filed. A police report followed. When she was brought in, she wept and screamed that she just wanted to protect him from that barren woman who tricked him into thinking she was enough. Tony stood there in the station, watching her unravel. No more confusion, no more hesitation, only resolve. I warned you, he said, staring into her tearful, furious eyes. This is where it ends. Trisha was released on bail, but warned that another violation would land her behind bars. Tina was shaking but strong. Her only concern was their unborn child. In the weeks that followed, she stayed indoors, ate only food she prepared, and Tony remained by her side like a shadow. When the doctor announced she was carrying twins, the room fell into silence. Then laughter, then tears. Boy and a girl, 2 hearts, beating where there were once only prayers. It was more than they asked for. It was a promise fulfilled. The hospital room was filled with soft and cozy scent of baby powder. Tony stood by the bassinet, staring down at the 2 tiny humans, wrapped in matching blankets, his son and his daughter. Their eyes blinked sleepily. Their little fingers curled instinctively around his. Tina, exhausted but glowing, watched him from the bed. There was no words needed between them, only gratitude. He turned to her and whispered, "We did it." She smiled, eyes glistening. "No, you did it. You came back to me." They named them Emmanuel, God is with us, and Eden, for the peace they now felt. News spread quickly. Surprisingly, it was Tony's eldest sister who visited first. She brought a basket of fruit and a hesitant smile. "We heard about the twins," she said, her eyes shifting nervously. We're happy for you, Tony." Tina offered a seat, and for the first time in years, the family sat together without shouting, accusation, or bitterness, just soft spoken words, apologies, memories. The rift hadn't closed overnight, but it was healing, slowly, steadily. Trisha never returned. The restraining order held firm, and after her final outburst, she seemed to vanish from their lives. Occasionally, Tony sent funds for David, no strings attached, just responsibility fulfilled. He made it clear he was not the boy's father, but would never turn his back on him. One evening a year later, Tony stood outside their home, holding both toddlers in his arms as Tina took a photo. The sun was setting behind them, casting long shadows and golden light. The house was quiet, the gates secure, and laughter floating the air like a music. When he tucked the twins into bed that night, he kissed her forehead and stood at the door for a long moment. Then he walked to their bedroom, where Tina was reading. "Do you remember anything now?" she asked softly. He smiled and got into bed beside her. "No," he said, pulling her close, "but I've made new memories with the woman I chose then and the one I'll keep choosing every day." Tina turned up the light and lay her head on his chest. The past had taken so much, but love had given them everything. The end. Highly comment below what you learned from this wonderful story, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, bye.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us. Turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye.